and I was doing Facebook, right? So
You ran into something.
say what?
You ran into something.
Well, somebody ran into me, but so I had my phone and I had the store behind me, and in front of me there was a parking lot, and I was like, well, I'm safe. There's nothing's going to happen to me. So I'm on the phone, and obviously I've been taught to look up every once in a while, look at my surroundings, come back down. I was looking back, I didn't see anything, but on the side of me there were like multiple columns, and I was like, that's a perfect spot for somebody to hide. But I'm just going to keep looking. I'm like, who's stupid enough to come and take anything from me, right? I was like, that's dumb. Nobody will ever do that. And then somebody did. Exactly right. All of a sudden, I see a little hand, a skinny hand, come across my shoulder, take my phone, and I'm looking at this kid, probably 19, 20 years old, and I'm like, man, what are you doing? And I thought it was a joke. And as I said, give me my phone, he pulled the gun on me and pointed it straight at my chest. So I said, hey, you can have the phone. It's all good. You can keep it. Long story short, he turned around and I got my phone back. I'll just leave it as that, okay? If you want to hear the story, I'll tell it to you later, right? But that's just going to get you riled up a little bit, get you going. Point is, you'll hear it. Point is, I got my phone back, but I learned a lot of lessons from there. So from that time on, I was like, you know what? I need to keep doing what I'm doing, learning, and I should be teaching these things as well. So I put a presentation together, and whenever I get an opportunity, I go and teach it to people and show them or whatever, family members, friends, whoever. So I'm just going to go through a few things from that. So I'll start with my background experience. Like I told you, I was in the Marine for 10 years. I was in what they back then was called in Stapleton, which kind of did covert over missions. I went through their martial arts program and also did private security. So just to let you know a little bit about my background on that. So my wife, why I did this is, again, because of what happened to me. And I have two sisters. I have my mother. I have, my wife. I have Avery, I have all these people in my life that, are out in the open, living their lives, and, things can happen. So one of the things I like to teach, very basic, and not make it complicated, is the acronym SEALS. SLLS. So that's stop, look, listen, and smell. Stop, look, listen, and smell. So what that means is, that's an acronym that we use in the military when a small team gets inserted. You get dropped off, whether in a helicopter or a vehicle. You go forward, a few yards, 50 yards, 75 yards, and then you hold on there for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and you stop, look, listen, and smell. And the whole point of that is to allow your senses to adjust to the environment, right? You just got out of a nosy chopper or a vehicle, and now you have to let your senses, your heartbeat, everything else go back down, and let your senses adjust to everything. And if there's bad guys out there, then you'll know what to do, right? So that same acronym or that same action, you can put that to your everyday life. So it teaches the participants to have a heightened sense of your awareness by stop, looking, listening, and smelling their surroundings by using simple methods of detection, surveillance, and scanning. This will allow the participants, you guys, to implement skill sets to possibly deter any possible threats. Anybody can benefit this program, especially you kids. You can start learning these things. So this is how I'll break it down. Okay, stop. You stop for 5 seconds before entering or exiting any vehicle or structure to allow your senses an opportunity to adjust to the environment. Just 5 seconds. Think of yourself getting out of your vehicle as you go into Wally World, or leaving Wally World as you go into your vehicle. What do? You park your car, open your door, and you get out, right? You're not looking around. You just get out of your car and go, right? Same thing with when you get out of Wally World, right? You have your basket, and you know where your card's at, and you focus on your car, and you have your card with you, and you don't look to the left and to the right of you. You just keep going. It's natural to do that. It's human nature to do that. So that's the stop piece. You stop for 5 seconds, okay? It's going to seem like forever at the beginning, but as you do it more and more, you're going to acclimate to it. You're going to get used to it. So you stop for 5 seconds, and then you look. You perform a side-to-side and rear scan of your environment from the closest to the farthest, looking at people, objects, and situations. Okay? So that means that when you get out, you stop and you scan. You start right here, and you start working yourself out as you go. So you'll probably go like 25, 50, 75 yards. And the reason why is obviously the closest threat to you is your worst threat. The further away somebody is, distance is your friend, right? So the further somebody's out, the less ability that somebody's going to do something to you. So you want to start as close as possible and then you work yourself out to your vehicle. So if your vehicle is 75 yards away, again, right, you start looking right where you're at. You get out, you look to the left and to the right, right, because there's blind spotters right in your corner. You start looking 15 yards, 25 yards, and you can, and again, it's 5 seconds, but after 5 seconds, you can start moving and looking, right? You stop and you just, keep looking, keep looking, keep looking until you get to your car. You listen. The sounds that you need to look for is unfamiliar to your surroundings, okay? And you're going to know if something is out of place. But if you're not paying attention, you're like, oh, that's just noise, okay? But this is going to force you to pay attention to even the smallest of things.
I hear a lot of strange things that I never have heard before.
Really?
Excuse me, I have a question.
Q&A is afterwards. Then smell, right? To smell the unfamiliar to your surroundings. If you get out of the Walmart and you smell gas, that's something that you're not used to smelling, right? If you get at a Walmart and you smell popcorn, not that big of a threat, okay? But gasoline, maybe it is. So there's what I call the trinity of preparedness. You have your awareness, your self-defense, and your first aid. What I'm pretty much going to teach you is the awareness piece. I'm going to teach you a little bit of self-defense and none of first aid for this class. But awareness is the biggest one. Because once you get yourself in the middle of a fight, whether it's a fist fight, gunfight, knife fight, it's already too late. Okay, you're already in there. Okay. Now we're going to go through some things you can do, but what you want to do is completely remove yourself from the environment that could be a threat to you, and you can get hurt, or other people can get hurt, and so on. It's afterwards. Q&A is afterwards. Awareness. There's 3 points of awareness. You have people, conflict, and your environment. People talking, right? Are they loud? Are they cursing? Are they slurring, right? That means that they've been drinking. That means that they're irate. That means they're not in the right spot. Moving. They may be moving slow, fast, erratic, but if they're moving fast when everybody's moving slow, red flag. Or if everybody's moving slow when everybody's moving fast, it's another red flag. Okay? So you got to pay attention to the distinction. Is the person acting nervous, suspicious, violent? Conflict. There's like 3 stages. There's pre-conflict. There's an argument. You may see a weapon. You may see the intent, and you may have the ability right there to de-escalate. During the conflict, you're already in it. You have a few choices here. You have escape and evade. You have offense, defense, or as you can say, fight or flight. Those are your choices. Post-conflict, a lot of people, for whatever reason, they come back to the same area where the conflict was at. Why they do that? I have no idea. But don't go back to the scene, just a big one, and just call 911. Your environment. Is it dark? Is it well lit? Is it isolated? Is it crowded? Is it a familiar environment? Is it unknown? Let's talk about bad guys. What do bad guys want from you?
Money.
3 things. They want fear. They want to take something away from you, money, or they want to hurt you. Okay? What do bad guys look for? Bad guys look for to see if you're vulnerable, which means that you can be complacent. Right? You're not paying attention to environments. You're distracted by being on your phone or talking to your friend. And they're looking for choke points. And we'll go over what choke points are. Angles. There's blind spots. There's cover and concealment. Cover meaning that wherever they're behind a wall and they can't see you and you can't see them, but they know that you're walking towards that hallway. And they know that as soon as they see you, they can snatch you up. Right? So that's cover for them. So it has advantages and disadvantages to that, but they can use that. Concealment means that they're behind a brush maybe, and they can see you, you can see them, right? But barely, not too well, but you can see each other. And they're looking for opportunities. They're looking for timing, maybe waiting for you to get right into your car. They're looking for lighting, shadows, the element of surprise. Okay, choke points. Choke points are narrow passages such as hallways, bridges, valleys, or doorways that a beggar can use to attack you, the victim. Close quarter where you escape route are close quarters like this is where your escape route is limited. So let's talk about vehicle choke points. A red line stop sign is a choke point, right? You can't go anywhere, right? Well, you got to gun it, right? If you're being attacked and there's a red light and it's safe to go, just go, right? The cop will understand that. Gas stations are another choke point, and ATMs are probably the worst choke points ever, okay? Avoidance. Ways to avoid dangerous situations. Recognize threats, and that's what stop, look, listen, and smell is for, and distance yourself from the threat. Anytime you even it looks like there's a threat, you can separate yourself from that environment, and not even if it takes you an extra 5 minutes to go around, who cares? Okay, that can save your life. Look less vulnerable. Stand straight with confidence, right? A lot of us we slouch and, look like we're defeated and we don't have, Jesus in our life or anything like that, right? Like, stand tall, walk with confidence. Think of a lion and a prey, right? Like the lion will attack the weakest, whatever animals they attack. Is it zebras or whatever, right? So they'll attack the young and they'll attack the old. So for you young ones and your elders, you're probably the one they're going to go for. So be present and engage in the moment. No distraction from social media, people, or your surroundings. And scan your surroundings every 15 seconds, okay? I don't care where you're at. If you're at the Walmart and you're going through the aisles or whatever, every 15 seconds, just stop and look around. I promise you, after some practice, it's going to come natural to you. You're just going to do it. Funny enough, me and my wife started dating. I was doing that all the time, right? And she would look at me and she's like, man, here's this good-looking guy, and he's out there looking around at all these women or whatever. And she used to tell me, it's like, why are you looking around? Why are you looking around? I used to tell her, I said, I'm not looking at anybody. I said, I'm looking at my surroundings. And for years, she never believed me. And I kept telling her about seals, and she started seeing that I would tell my sister. I was like, hey, this is what you guys do. And my sister will repeat it back to me. It's like, yep, I stopped losing smell, and they know. So after a while, my wife's like, oh, she's one of the reasons why I did this, because she was like, you need to put a class together and a package together, because she now does that. And she's gotten really good at, better than me now, at all of this. So be aware of the following, that it draws attention to you. Excessive jewelry, large bags, excessive cell phone use. Women, right? You guys do that most of the time, right? Have jewelry, large bag. Now, I'm not saying you guys, I'm generalizing. And excessive cell phone use, right? On the phone, with a big bag, you see them everywhere. No need. If you can avoid the bag, the jewelry, or the phone, please do. Your typical distractions. Cell phones, we talked about that. Here's another one, your children or other people's children, right? Some people don't even have children, and they're looking at somebody else's children. It's like, don't worry about it. They're not your kids. Focus on where you're at, right? And your children, too, they can be a distraction. Maybe it's better leave them at home, maybe, okay? They will rob you even when you have a kid, because they know you're more vulnerable in that manner. Personal activities, whatever it is that may be, surroundings, being in a rush, okay? Doing things last minute. Do not go to the supermarket at night. Do it in the daytime. Discipline yourself to go during the daytime and not at night. Stress, it's one of the worst things, okay? Because your mind is not where it's supposed to. So it limits your state of mind, and lack of rest, sleep. A lot of us are sleep deprived. Let's talk about encounters. What to do in an encounter. Again, always do SEALs, right? To avoid an encounter. Recognize those threats. Pre-encounter. It's what is called verbal judo. So that means you de-escalate with that person. During an engagement or during an encounter, again, you have escape and evade, offense, defense, fight or flight, post encounter, first aid, 911. Here's an important one: to comply or not comply. Okay, I may be all kinds of things, but if that guy has the upper hand on me for whatever reason, I am going to comply. I am going to comply. So when to comply? If the bad guy has control over the situation, you comply. If there's no exits to escape, you comply. If there's multiple assailants, you comply. If the weapon's at close range, you comply. Now, I'm not saying all the time the situation dictates, but it's something to think about. How to comply? This is really important, okay? You have decided that you're going to comply. How to do it? You stay cool, calm, and collected. The more nervous you look, the more, you're acting up, the more they're going to get nervous, okay? Because they're nervous too, okay? Unless they're like, a pro or something like that, right? But most of them are not. Say that you will comply and surrender your belongings, right? Most of the time, they just want to take your stuff, okay? So you stay cool, calm, and collect, and you say, I'm good, sir, ma'am, here's my stuff, it's all good, you can have it, right? I comply, right? There's no point of losing your life for a cell phone. When not to comply? Here's a tough one. If you have a gut feeling and you know that this person doesn't want to take something physical away from you, that they want to kidnap you, to murder you, or the other stuff, they got kids here, so I'm not going to mention it, right? If that's going to happen, you have to make a choice. I will not comply, something like that. Nobody's going to abuse my body. Nobody's going to take my life. Nobody's going to take my kids. I'm going to fight to the bitter end, right? When those things are in place. You can take my stuff. You can't take my kids. Let's go through scenarios. What to do when entering a building? Look for potential threats, right? Look at people. Look at the infrastructure. Look for exits. Every time I go to a restaurant, restaurants, for the most part, not for the most, they all do have exits, multiple exits, right? Obviously, there's the one you go in the front. Sometimes some of them they have side exits, but they do have an exit, which is the kitchen, right? So if you see one entrance you came in, you can go and know that if you go through the kitchen, there's another exit there, okay? And look for avenues of approach. Look for those choke points that you have to start thinking like a bad guy. A bad guy, if I was a bad guy, how would I do this, okay? I always, when I go to a restaurant, I always face the door all the time, okay? Because now, and I put myself close to an exit, not right on the exit, but close to it, to the point that if the bad guy comes in through that exit or that entrance, he's not going to snatch me up first. I have an opportunity to flee, okay? But if that's an exit, like for right now, for example, here's an exit, I want to look at both of them, okay? That way, bad guy comes through there, then I can go through here. Bad guy comes through here, then I can go through there. I go through the window if I have to, okay? ATM. I heard the acronym ATM called accessory to mugging. Don't use outside ATMs. Lock your doors in your car if you have to, and perform seals before rolling down the windows, okay? You go to an ATM in your car, make sure your doors are locked, and before you stick your handy-dandy credit card and get your money out, make sure you look at your surroundings, make sure you look back, make sure everything's good, and then take your money out, if you have to do that. Where to park? You have choices here. You can park close to an entrance, a lighted area, an open area. But here's the thing with that. Just because it's an open area, it doesn't mean that's the best place to park. Just because it's a lighted area, it doesn't mean that's the best place to park. You got to look at your environment. If it's closer, again, going back to a Walmart, you want to be close to the door because now you've shortened your distance from there to your car. But at the same time, if that area is dark, I'd rather park my car a little bit further out where there's lighting than park it close where it's dark, okay? And what I do is I never go back to my car the same way where I park at. So let's say that, I park right here and I came through this way. When I come back out, I go the other way around. because they know that 99% of the people, right, go back there. So they're going to be waiting for you probably, between the cars. But if you go the other way, you're going to throw them off. You've increased your chances. What to do in a road racing event? Okay, this should be an easy one for all of us. Stay in the vehicle. Do not engage. Find a safe place to go and call 911 on your cell phone. They got all kinds of crazy things that they do now where they just like barely tap you in the back. You get on the side of the road and then horrible things happen. Okay, there's no point of you getting off to see if somebody just dent your bumper. Just keep driving, right? Especially if you're a female, you got your kids in the car or something like that. Knife attacks. Believe it or not, knife attacks are worse than like getting into a gunfight. Okay, if an attacker with a knife can stab you multiple times, right? Close range, and just go at it. Bad things can happen. Gunfight, they might hit you once. There's all kinds of distractions. You can. It's a little bullet just like that to hit you, but believe it or not, that's actually very difficult to do. So distance is your friend. Obviously, try to get away, and defense and blocking. Try to block yourselves with your arms right here. Over here, you have all kind of arteries and veins and things like that. But if you have to block yourself with a gunfight, it's better to do it here and protect your torso, because that's where all your main body parts are at. What to do in an active shooter situation, right? We see those a lot in schools and things like that, which is horrible. So run, leap and bound, maintain as much distance between you and the shooter. If you have no way to defend yourself, you're going to lose 10 out of 10 times. Hide, cover and concealment, we talked about that. And sometimes you do have to fight. You have to do some defense and offense. Here's one that may be tough for all of us. They're a little bit older and, we don't do physical stuff anymore, but your fitness is extremely important. If you are not in good physical shape, the chances of you becoming more of a victim increases by doing that. Emotional fitness. Having self-control of who you are, not getting loud or screaming or, losing your mind. And of course, for us believers, is the spiritual side with it, right? Make sure you're always good with your family. Make sure you make peace with the Father, because you never know when your time is to go. And the last thing you want to do is be upset at somebody. Let's talk about self-defense a little bit. Tools for protection. You can use your senses, your eyes, your ears, right, against seals, and your gut. To my understanding, we have in our stomach, in our brain, we have certain cells that are very similar to each other or the same. So when you really say, I have a gut feeling, it's because your brain is talking to your gut at the same time. Okay, and telling, hey, there's something going on here, because your senses capture something, your brain captures something, and it tells your gut, and you feel in your gut. That's why you always need to trust your gut. Noises. You can use a horn, a whistle, and you can scream. I brought some whistles like this for you guys. It's really small, but that's enough. It sounds like, ridiculous, but look, I use one, because you never know. If you get into a gunfight and you're bleeding out and you can't yell, you can at least blow a whistle, okay? Some people carry horns. I know I bought my wife, forgot what it's called, but it's pretty much an instrument about this big, and you pull it, and it makes like a high pitched noise. Okay, and so that it lets people know where they should have brought one. And your voice, scream. If you see a guy coming toward, just start screaming. It doesn't matter if it feels embarrassing or whatever. Just start yelling. Other tools are, you can have pepper spray, but you got to have training for that, because if not, you're going to pepper spray yourself, and now you're really screwed. A knife, anything accessible to you, you can use. Cup, Tabasco, bottles, whatever it may be, whatever it is you have at hand, and of course, a gun. But you need to have a lot of training to utilize that. Here's some self-defense tactics you can use. You can eye gouge, okay? Bad guy comes to you, All you got to do is grab your finger and just poke him as hard as you can in his eyeball, and right there, it will give you the ability to run away. Sounds horrible, but hey, if you need to pop his eye out, pop it out. It doesn't matter. Okay. If he's close to you, you can grab your thumb, okay, and just press right here and just like scoop out, and it'll just pop out just like that. Okay. Ear pull. To my understanding, you don't need you don't need a lot of pressure in your ears to rip somebody's ear off. So if somebody's there, you can just grab their ears and just drop your weight and just rip their ear off, right? Whatever it takes. You can do a groin kick, right? In these areas here, you can kick them in the chin. That works. Donkey kick if they're right behind you, right? You can do a donkey kick. And there's things you can do to kind of mediate doing a front choke, and or somebody does a rear choke to you. I'm not going to show it here, but you can, if somebody's choking in front of you, you can get them as close as possible to you. And again, you can poke him in the eye, okay? Rip his ear off, whatever you need to do. Pull his hair, it don't matter. Do something. Don't stand there and be so fearful and give up. People do that. Surprising, but they do. Getting out of a bear hug too, it's rather easy. If somebody ever does a bear hug, everybody knows how to do a jumping jack for the most part. If anybody grabs you in a bear hug, which is typically what they'll do because they have the element of surprise. So if somebody goes behind you and does a bear hug, you can do a donkey kick and hit him in the chin or the groin, and then do a jumping jack. That's gonna, even most strong men, that's gonna startle them. And then you can do a jumping jack, and they'll let loose, and then you can run. There's a few guys here, so I'll say this. There's a difference between shooting with a gun and fighting with a gun. One thing is going to the range and just going out there and putting rounds on target. That's great. But fighting with a gun is a whole different ball game. You got to learn how to do magazine change. You got to know how to do what to do if your weapon's jammed. You got to learn how to shoot in different positions. There's so much that goes into that. Obviously, you want to carry conceal. So how do you draw your weapon from the conceal? So there's a lot going on there. So I will advise, if you're going to use a gun, go take multiple classes and keep doing it, because it's a perishable skill. All right, I'm almost done. Here's some of my tips. Where there's one bad guy, there's probably more bad guys, okay? So you see one bad dude, a lot of times they're trying to scare you off to go somewhere else, and there's other bad guys there waiting for you. So keep that in mind. Don't hug the wall. In other words, if I go through the hallway, I try to put myself a distance between me and the wall. And the reason why is because if somebody's waiting for you around the wall, they can just hurry up and snatch you from there. But if you have some distance, kind of gives you more an opportunity to get out the way. Again, distance your friend. Make yourself small and unimportant. Even with the beard that, people think that brings attention. Honestly, if you make yourself unimportant, you can go in and out of places and people won't even realize you're there. And that's what you want. Obviously, it's a little harder when you're 6'3", Zach, you know what I mean? But you can still do that. You can go in and out of places and people won't matter, right? And you can stand up straight there. It's not that. Just some people like flaunting themselves or whatever. Why even have that? Don't flaunt your stuff. Think like a bad guy. That's hard to do because you're not a bad guy yourself. But if you start practicing, if I was a bad dude, what would I do? Okay. And after a while, you'll get the hang of it. And don't always take the same route back home. I don't do this every single time, but sometimes I take other exits to get to my house through the neighborhood. And I pay attention if there's a car following me or whatever. Now, you're like, dude, who's going to be following you? Like, are you like crazy or something like that? It's like, no, it happens. It happens all the time. Who knows? Let me see. There's some tips that my wife wrote down, but she's the one that has these. But let me see if I can find one. Oh, pumping gas is a big one. So my advice when pumping gas, don't pump your gas on the outside pumps. Do it in the inside pumps, right? Because you can quickly snatch in and out snatch, right? Grab the car, they open the door, grab whatever, and they get out of there. So I would just go ahead and pump in the inside pumps. And what I do when I pump gas, there's two ways you can do this. I pump and I go inside and I lock myself in the car. Okay? Lock myself in the car, make sure the doors are locked. Here's the thing about it. If something happens and you're in your car, you can turn your car on and just drive off. The hose for the pump, it comes off. Okay? So don't worry about causing damages or whatever. You don't have to pay them back or nothing like that. And funny enough, when I was in Austin, I think a couple weeks ago, I actually saw someone do that by mistake. The pump wasn't working. They left and they took the hose and everything, and no real damage. It just came off, which is great. So it works. And I told my wife, I said, "Look, told you it works." So that's one way to do it. It gets really hot in Texas, so I understand I want to stay in your car. So if you don't want to stay in your car, you let your automatic pump, right, the gas pump on itself, and just get in front of the car and just look around and just wait. Just keep looking around till the pump gets going, and then go on your wherever you're going. But always keep looking yourself around, look behind you or whatever. Loading your groceries into your car. Another one of those actions where it's like tunnel vision, right? You're putting your groceries away and you're not paying attention to your surroundings. That's a big one as well, especially if you have children and so on, things like that. So be careful with that. Parking garages, they are. It's very tough because obviously everybody parks closest to the door. You never find parking there, and you end up parking on the 6th floor in a dark environment, and all the things that I just said right now. You can use all those things to kind of minimize that threat. You have your car alarm you can use, but that's a tough one, man, with car garages. So be careful with that. Smiling. This is one of my wives because I hit her hard when we first started dating. So my wife is just completely always smiling, right? She's a happy person. So when we started dating, I would notice that she would go in and out Walmart or whatever, and she'll smile at everybody. She's like, hi. And then she'll come back and she'll like, man, the guy was following me afterwards. The guy was asking me for my number. And I said, well, you know why that's happening? Why? I said, because you smiled at him. He said, I did? I'm like, yeah, you smiled at him. So when you smile at somebody, that gives them, they got freaks out there, okay? They got people that are weird. And there are men out there that have low self-esteem, or whatever you want to call it. And as soon as a woman smiles at them, gives them an opportunity, whether it makes sense or not, whether it's conscious or subconscious, it doesn't matter. Like it does happen that. And I see it all the time, right? So I've been hitting her so hard for so many years that now she doesn't smile. And now sometimes she don't even smile at me. So, it's a double-edged sword, but it happens. But at least she doesn't do it anymore, and that avoids problems and things like that. So she's done a good job. And now I've done the same thing with Avery. She's like her mom too. I've caught her smiling sometime. And there was this guy at a Buc-ee's, a gas station, and she smiled at him, and the dude turned around. He was an older gentleman. And I'm like, come on, man. It's a 17-year-old girl, 18-year-old girl. What are you doing? So I told her, I said, listen, you're just like your mom. I said, don't smile at them. They can think that you're rude or whatever. I said, don't worry about that. I said, that's their problem, not yours. I said, don't smile at people. It's just the environment that we live in. So I told you guys I was going to go quick. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Quick stories here and there. Obviously, I'm going to be here the whole weekend. Mike missed the presentation. You missed it, Mike. It was awesome. Yeah. Missed it. But do you guys have any questions for me after all the things I talked about? Huh? Yeah, I went fast. I could have gone more in detail, but it's just to kind of give you like at least put it in your heart and your mind to be careful when you're out there. The world is getting tougher and tougher out there. It's getting nastier and nastier. COVID did, I don't know what to people and losing their minds now. So just, again, using the stop, look, listen, and smell, take 5 seconds, to slow down just a bit. And I promise you, just by slowing down a bit, breathing in and out as you go in and out of your environments, that itself is going to help you a lot. But if you have questions, I'll be walking around. If something like clicks on you or whatever, come ask me, because maybe that's a good question and I can put it on my slide and keep teaching others some stuff, okay? All right. Thank you. You're welcome.